good evening, good afternoon to everybody in a different time zone. I'm Tatiana Koval, and this is podcast Happy at Work. In our podcast, usually we met with very interesting person from the world of HR, from the different countries. And today we meet with Helo Tamme from Estonia. Hello. This is our conversation, and we decided today discuss Estonian labor markets, the current HR trends, what is really actual for this market. And also we could make a focus for the Estonian HR society, because Helo is the president of this society. And usually before we start discuss, Helo, could you please introduce yourself for our audience and tell a little bit about your professional background?
Thank you. Thank you. Firstly, Tatiana, thank you so much for having me over. I'm really excited to be part of this amazing podcast. I'm Helo, as Tatiana already mentioned. I am based in Estonia, in Tallinn. And I'm here today to talk about, as Tatiana also mentioned, about our labor market, the HR society. But a few words about myself. I've been in HR for almost 20 years, been working for different companies as a head of HR or on similar roles. But in addition to this, I've been also really active in HR community. And one thing led to another, and around 2.5 years ago, myself, together with 13 other HR enthusiasts, we founded Estonian HR Society that within this time period has grown from 0 to 1,500 already, which is huge considering that Estonia is such a small country with population around 1.3 million only. And different sources say differently, but in Estonia, in HR, there are around 4,000 people in HR roles, depending whom you're considering HR. So I do see it's such a significant possibility. And if you don't mind, maybe I just share a few words about society, Tatiana, or should we leave it later?
I think it could be interesting to know more about a society, because we will discuss a lot of information which you could share from this society.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this is, we are working on voluntary based, so it's not like, we don't have any full-time employees or such. And we consider ourselves probably a bit like, rebels in HR market, because what we have done is we have made HR accessible to everybody who is excited about HR, meaning actually to join the society, it is totally for free for everybody. The membership is free, and majority of this that our members are getting is completely free, except if we have some costs involved, then there are some prices attached to this, but they are so tiny. Like for instance, we are in September, for the third year in a row, we are organizing HR Expo. The early bird tickets for the full day access, and as well as access to 37 workshops, it was like 12.99 euros. So it's basically for free. And what we're doing is we are having monthly meetups. We have our own virtual book club, HR baby club, you can name it. So many things that we are doing. We have been conducting annual HR survey. We are conducting different bigger events. So we're doing so many things, but we are doing everything on a voluntary basis, together with a really wide group of people who want to now contribute back to the HR communities.
Oh, it's very great. I will have one more additional questions for you about your society, but later. Now okay. I remember what we connected, I think 6 months ago, 5 months ago, and decided what we could meet after you could prepare a very interesting survey about labor market of Estonia. And now we could discuss it. In my first question about trends of the labor market of Estonia and about maybe HR trends, also about what is currently is very important for HR who are working in Estonia. Helo, would you please share main insights with us?
Absolutely. So as mentioned, for 3 years in a row, we have actually conducted annual HR survey. There isn't like an organization that conducts similar. So we felt that this is a gap in the HR market. And because of this, we started to conduct the surveys. They are quite popular. We are getting a lot of responses, more than 300 responses, which is pretty good result. And we are really happy with this. And Tatiana, I didn't actually agree this one with you, but I'll be challenging maybe you a few times during our discussion and make it a bit more interactive. And people who are listening us, they can also then try to guess the right answers. So each year we are also asking our participants on a survey, what are the top 5 priorities that are currently on their table. So I'll do the counting. In the top 5, on the 5th place, it's learning and development. This for this year. Number 4 is employee experience. Number 3 is employee well-being, including mental health. Number 2, recruitment. Can you guess what's number 1?
Or maybe organizational culture. I know it was very popular for some years, or maybe not.
Unfortunately, no. Well, it's what's on the table at the moment is employment relations, and it's pretty understandable because, you would considering all the changes that are at the moment happening, considering the labor market. Unfortunately, this is something that we do need to focus. When we were asking actually a year ago, what do they think that is going to be on their table? In the top 2, they had employee experience and employer branding. They see that this is something that you would need to do to be successful, to attract and retain great talent. But unfortunately, the daily work comes to your table, you have limited resources, and it means that employment relations are coming to the picture.
So
that's really something
huge
interesting.
change, really huge changes on the market for 1 year.
Yeah. So they were predicting or hoping it to come up, but that's one thing. Another thing, maybe I'll ask you a question. So let's talk about what are the areas, for instance, what we always asked, what are the areas that you would like to develop yourself more, or you feel you need to renew your knowledge or learn new skills. In top 3 this year, we had leadership development. Number 2 was HR analytics, and I must say that HR analytics has been on the top each year. I come back to this later, but this year we decided to add one more topic to the list. So basically, people get a long list from what they can choose all the answers that they find relative. What do you think? What was the number 1?
Maybe artificial intelligence.
Yay! That is correct.
As for me, previous year was the revolution of artificial intelligence everywhere, and especially in HR.
Exactly. And people have started to understand that actually HR, HR, AI can make your work much easier. When we contacted our HR Expo for the 2nd year last September, what we saw there, we have different workshops happening, many workshops happening throughout the day. One of the most popular workshops that also received a lot of positive feedback was about AI and ChatGPT, of course. And then we're okay, it looks like definitely something to explore. And when we added this to our list, the AI, possibilities and tools, then this was the answer that got the most responses. 71% of people responding to the survey, they said they want to know more about AI. This definitely shows as a trend. Honestly, if we would have asked this 3, 4, 5 years ago, I don't think that anybody would have asked it.
Choose this option. It's really interesting. Huge changes in social time. Hello, why do you think that's happened? What the main reasons for this? What is the more strong for the market? What could influence your market, the previous and this year?
Yeah, well, you mean especially about AI, why it's so popular?
About especially AI and about your first questions about employee relationship.
Yeah, well, the thing is, in Estonia, as well as definitely in other countries, what we can hear and read from the news is companies unfortunately laying off people. You need to think about performance, productivity, and how to survive. And because of this, I believe we still have employment relations as a topic that helps, unfortunately, to manage performance and focus on the productivity part and make sure that everything is prepared by the book. So that's why I believe we have employment relations as one of the top topics still. And this is also something probably it might be a bit historical for Estonia because in earlier times, in HR, that was actually HR job, employment relations. That's it. You didn't do much more than that, but it was 20, 30 years ago. Now there has been change, but it is still something that has kind of assumption that this is the role of the HR. It might be that because of this. But the AI is definitely because what we can see and hear, in different HR news, you can see different courses coming up about AI. And when you hear what the AI is capable in doing, then this is just wow. How much more effective you can be in your role. What they are saying is AI is not going to take your job, but they are going to take the job, AI is going to take the job of those people who don't know how to use it. And I believe that in Estonia, HR professionals have started to understand it. They can see okay, I can be much more effective in my role when I'm using AI. ChatGPT is, of course, restricted in many companies, so you can't use it, the data privacy and similar. So there are many other options available that companies are using. But I believe that this is something that's just people have started to understand that there are so many possibilities in AI. And it's not only about ChatGPT. AI has it's much wider term.
Yeah, it's so much wider because I remember what for 3 or 2 years ago, I visited the HR exhibition in Dubai, where a lot of ITS here included the AI module. But now I think all the ATS system use this model, and we have a lot of discussion about AI. And I agree with you, it's great trends for the whole world and also for the Estonia. I want to ask you about, you said in the previous year, the employer branding, employee experience, attraction and retain talents was very, very important. And what is the current situation in the labor market from a perspective of attracting and retain people? Because you mentioned that Estonia is really a small country and the situation in the business is developing fast. And I know what you have a lot of business in Estonia, especially IT business. It's a very, very popular sector of Estonia business. What now is the current situation with attraction and retention?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're definitely correct that we have a lot of IT companies. Estonia is a country actually that has the most startups as in a country as per capita. So meaning that we are focusing only a lot of IT, but that's not all of it in other fields as well. We are definitely seeing the labor market cooling down. Companies are struggling definitely. Our registered unemployment rate currently, the latest data is that it is 7.0%, which doesn't look too bad, to be honest. There is a hope. This is also one of the topics that we asked during the annual survey. That what are the people responding to the survey? What are the prediction in the recruitment capacities for the 2024? And you know what? If in 2023 there were 37% of respondents were thinking that the recruitment capacities are going to increase, then this year 40% of respondents was saying that their recruitment capacities are going to increase, which is really significant. And we can still say that it is still really hard to attract and retain the best talent. And no matter in what field you are, it can be IT. It's really struggling to find people in IT, but it's not only IT. It's also whatever companies we are talking, frontline, more simpler works and so on. It's also really hard to find the best ones also. So it's not so easy that you think the labor market is cooling down. There are layoffs. It's easy to find. People are lining up to get the job. No, it's not the case, at least not at the moment in Estonia.
Mm-hmm. If we talk about the employment relation, this is for me surprise topic. This is very interesting. And on other hand, I want to discuss with you the organizational corporate culture of the companies in Estonia. What is maybe something common for the companies from Estonia, their core values? But because when we discuss the employment relations, that means what the companies are ready to discuss all different topics with employees. So for me, that means what they are open for the discussion. This is one of characteristics of the culture. Could you share a little bit, because I think what the people from different countries, from Brazil, USA, maybe Africa, Saudi, different countries will hear our podcast, and maybe they didn't know what culture of Estonia, what type of culture of the companies they more usual, common for the companies. Could you just share the first?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's I don't see that there is one specific kind of culture in Estonian companies. As part of the Estonian Nature Society activities, what we are doing is we are actually conducting monthly H2H meetups, meaning we are actually going to visit specific companies. They are doing us a tour in the office or in their facilities. We learn about their HR, about how they are leading the company, and finishing up actually with the hackathons to help them to solve problems. Honestly, I can say that there isn't two similar organizations with the similar cultures. But of course, in Estonia, the companies, that country is so small. If you do something that's really you're not treating your people well and these sort of things, people talk about this. So that's the difference. When you are in a bigger country, like in a huge one, the word doesn't go around so fast. But in Estonia, it goes around really fast. And if you ruin your reputation by treating your people poorly, you don't have employment contracts, there are you're trying to look aside, not following the regulations and such. People talk about this. and you are going to struggle to find and retain the best talent. That's the fact. As mentioned, in the bigger countries, they even don't yes, word goes around, but country is so big that they have opportunities find some other talent. Mm-hmm. But that's not a luxury for Estonian organizations.
Mm-hmm. And my questions about the culture, it's also about a topic about people-centered culture, about employee happiness, and about life-work balance. I know what Estonia is a part of Europe, and usually when we discuss the corporate well-being, about mental health of employees, we discuss different situations. From one hand, we have here, I think, more European type culture. There, the people have barriers. So that means what they have for life-work balance, and companies think about it. They understand what it's important. Usually when we discuss approaches, for example, with American companies, there are a lot of burnout. There are a lot of problems with barriers between these two sides of life. If we talk about Estonia, what is Estonian companies? What is closer for them? And maybe a little bit about well-being, as you mentioned, that it's also in top 5 priority now. And
yeah, and it's going to be also it's been predicted to be in top 5 also next year. When we're talking about well-being, mental health, this work-life balance, it comes down to this. I would. I might be wrong, but my experience has been earlier times, people when you were on holidays, you were still kind of trying to take a look your emails, responding to calls, doing all of this. But the COVID actually changed the world, and significantly also for Estonians, as to other countries. So what I've heard. People now prioritize their own well-being, and meaning if I'm taking my time off, I'm actually taking my time off. I'm not going to do my work, to do the job. And the same applies also when we're talking about working. So it's not so common anymore that when you finish, your work finishes at 5ish, let's say, then you actually turn off your computer at 5, and then you do not do your emails until in the morning. It is different in global organizations when you're working with teams across different geos and such. But then you need to find different, exactly. But then you need to find your way how to make sure that you don't burn out, because in Estonia, the normal working hours 40 working hours a week. And that's what people are keenly following. And I can say in HR side, already, I think it was 2-3 years, we have noticed that actually there are a lot of HR people who are actually taking the time off during the summer, and then they are offline. They are actually off. They are actually away, and nothing's happening in the month of July. Kind of we are here at the moment. Then in August, people are starting to come back to office. So that's I do see the shift, especially in HR, but I believe that this is the really common also in other professions in Estonia, as well as in other European countries. And I know, for instance, Scandinavia countries, they are really strict, no overtime or something. And American culture is you work, yeah. Like workaholic, yeah.
Yeah, I remember how I discussed about participation in my podcast with a colleague from Finland. It was, I think, maybe 1 month ago, and he said, I will have a huge holidays for summer, and later we can do our podcast. And he has a plan to, I think, close to 1 month of holidays. It's absolutely normal. And it was very interesting when they discussed at the time, because we have a different time zone, like with you.
Yeah.
And he said, 6 time is not good because it's my family time. And I understand that I like this situation. So we discussed a more appropriate time for her because I understand, but the company for me is a partner.
Yeah.
Respect the personal time. It's great, but in Estonia, I also have this trends. I think it's Scandinavian trends for life balance, and we know that the Scandinavian countries are the most happiest country in the world in the global rating of the happiness. Yes. Helo, back to Estonia. What main advice you can get to the CEOs of the companies, not only for HR, but for CEOs of the companies? What should they do for their employees for this and for the next year? From not only HR, but also from the leadership perspective. What advice could you get?
Ooh, if I would have this magic wand, I would think about something great. But no, I think that actually, there isn't one like a magic thing that everybody can do to be successful. But I would say that consistency is the key. And I'm talking here a bit maybe about employer branding. What I saw during the previous recession in 2007, 2008, and 9, what happened was that when people were doing, companies were offering people different possibilities and opportunities, were focusing a lot on how attractive they are. 2008, people are lining up. Let's freeze all those things. No, different whatever they were offering there, events, some fun stuff, bonuses. Let's freeze everything. Let's not give anything. We don't need to focus on how we are attracting young talent. We don't need to focus on succession planning, so on. But people remember it when you do something like that. Yes, you might be in a really bad spot that you can't just leave the organization if this something like that happens. But when the new opportunity comes, they do it. They see that I'm investing my time to the organization, and when there are a harder time that an organization stop investing in me, so I would say consistency is definitely a key, no matter of the times. Of course, in a harder times, let's talk, what is this that we can do to reduce the cost and so on to survive? So it depends, of course, also how you're doing. But when we're talking about this, what to do to be successful, we need to have the right talent. We have seen, that the right talent can be much more productive than the ones that are not excited about the roles. And I think that here are the three main employer branding questions that are main questions for myself. Maybe somebody has some other questions, are the key. So each employer, what I see is each employer should ask themselves, why should anybody join my organization if they have luxury actually to choose? And talents have luxury to choose. So what is this? What makes my organization attractive so that they would like to join my organization? Second question is, why should they stay in the organization if they have the luxury actually to leave to some other organization? Why should they stay here? What is this as an employer doing to make my people stay here? And number 3 question is, what should I do to make them be engaged and productive so that they are not just sitting there from 9 to 5 and enjoying themselves or maybe watching Netflix or something, but they actually are engaged and productive. So these are the three main questions that I think that each and every employer should ask. And if they can't find the answer themselves, then there is a problem.
Great, that's great. Could it back to the society, to the HR society, and we decided to discuss additional topic. This is about special projects and about awards which you have for your HR society. Could you share, please? I think it could be interesting for the audience.
Yeah. That's a definitely good follow-up question. Actually, the employer branding part, and what we can see in Estonia, there are so many different awards that companies are applying. You would think that small country, 2 awards enough? No, there are like tens of different awards that are available there, and that people are basically doing to show off that that they are a great place to work. So we have like green office certificate, which is like quite common probably. We have also remote work employer label that companies can apply. We have different like dream employer awards. We have top employer awards, so that when you're looking at the job advertisements, they are listing all their awards to the job advertisement just to show how great place they are. And then there are different great awards available. And this is definitely something that if I don't have anybody to work who works in a company and I'm making my decisions to join the organization or not, this is kind of this third view that shows me that okay, these are the things that this company cares for, and kind of helps me to build trust against this specific employer. So that's something definitely really interesting and exciting. And we have also family-friendly organization. This is also one of the labels that it's really, really popular. We had in the last round, it was a year ago, we decided to take only 20 organizations into the program, and 160 companies actually applied to be part of the program. It's not just you're getting a label. Mm-hmm. This means that you're actually going to work at least 18 months, improving your processes and doing things. And then you're getting a consultant that helps you to work there, to mentor your organization. And at the end of this time period, the sort of these 18 months, you either getting the bronze, silver, or gold label that you can use. And this is extremely popular. So these are the really interesting things. So I'm not sure, is it Estonian specific? But I do see that there are companies that love different labels to show that how attractive they are.
It's very, very interesting for me. And my next question is additional, because in the beginning, when you started to talk about HR Society, you talked about two very interesting for me topics: HR book club and HR children club. Could you please explain a little bit more about this, your initiative? It's not usual for HR Society, and I really like.
Yeah, well, we have also language cafes and other things that we're doing. But book club, it's a virtual book club that we have 2 enthusiasts that are actually running this. They are taking place in Zoom, and then people are coming to the Zoom on bi-weekly basis on Friday mornings. They choose what book is this that they are going to read together, and then they are discussing. And later on, we are actually publishing. After they discussed about some specific book, then we are publishing the summary of their discussions that they are sharing with us. So this is amazing. But the HR baby club, it's for parents in HR that are actually on parental leave. I experienced this when I was on parental leave with my third child, that I wanted to be part of the HR community, and I had a really quiet child. So you actually can go with the child to somewhere. But do you know what? Kids are actually making some sounds. Even if they are not crying, they're making some sounds. And you are in a in a webby, in a workshop or something, and somebody's doing some sound. And everybody's looking at you. And I didn't feel too comfortable there. And I'm like, we need to do something. So, and then I knew quite many mothers in HR that had small kids. And then one thing led to another, and we invented HR Baby Club. It was because of the COVID and everything, it was on hold. But last year we again started with the Baby Club, and this is a monthly event. And what it means, I think it's a great opportunity to keep parents in in whatever fields really engaged, help to network and keep yourself fresh. So what they're doing, it's not let's come together and just have a coffee. So what they're doing is they always have somebody that shares some specific information about investment or how to take care of yourself or something. And the moms are unfortunately, we haven't had any fathers coming in, but there are sometimes some fathers have signed up. So parents are coming in with the babies for the event. Approximately there are let's say around 15 up to 20 parents with their babies joining. Babies are crawling around, making noises. It's quite challenging actually for somebody who's facilitating or presenting, with all this mess and the noise there. But that's an amazing experience because these parents otherwise you're kind of you can take part of the virtual events, but you can't be on a physical event. And what COVID has taught us is we are people in HR, and HR people really often actually like to be among different people, not only virtually to interact virtually. And then people definitely enjoy this opportunity to come together, learn something new, learn different insights, and be there with their babies.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I remember I think 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago, when I had a small baby, we visited Uzbekistan for the HR award chambers. And I have to take my baby because I had a breastfeeding, and I cannot stay. He's at home, so it was very interesting. But during the conference, I usually working on the conference and take a breaks for breastfeeding and then back. And very a lot of HRs reacted normally for this. It was unusual, but because it was a business trip from one country to another country, it was a business trip for the business event, but with babies, because I understand what these two sides of your life is really important for you. It's really, really great example of life-work balance, about how a company, how HRs could care about themselves so they could bring this practice for their company. Helo, I think it's really great. We discussed a lot of topics. And as for me, my last question for you. Understanding the different topics we covered, understanding different perspectives they covered, what three main insights, three main advice you could share with our audience from a perspective if we are work in HR, the US HR, not only from Estonian, maybe the global HR. What insights, ideas, what they should focus on for the future, for the better future of HR, for the better future of our companies?
Great, really great question. I haven't, of course, thinking about this, but I would probably share two topics from my end. Firstly, curiosity. Stay curious, because this way, if you're curious, then it helps you to develop yourself as a professional, and grow, learn new things, focus on improvement. And this is something that's something definitely expected as now, and this is definitely skill for the future. And secondly, and I think it's even most important, I've mentioned the topic of COVID many times now, and I didn't intend to do it, but I'll bring COVID on the table one more time. When we during the COVID, what we realized was that HR isn't only about employment relations. There are so many things to consider, and you as an individual can't be expert in everything. Okay, how to clean properly, the mental health topic that maybe wasn't on your table before. You became the top expert of health and safety and so on, but you can't be expert in everything. So here, my second advice would be, do not underestimate the power of networking and building up your own networks and collaborate with fellow HR enthusiasts. That's why we have created also the society, because you can't do everything yourself, but you can achieve so much more when you're doing it together with other people. If you don't have experience in something and you just raise your hand, ask questions, does anybody have something this experience, this template, can you share something? If like there is like definitely a few people who have such experience that can help you. And the same applies when somebody else next time asks something, and you have the experience, you have the knowledge, you do the favor back, or like to someone else. So it's like these are the two things: stay curious and network with HR enthusiasts.
Hello, I think it's great advice. It's the curiosity and the open and the openness to the world, openness for sharing your experience and asking for new ideas. It's really great. Thank you very much for participation in our podcast. It was really great pleasure for me and really great time with you.
Thank you. And thank you, Tatiana, for inviting me. I know that creating such podcasts, bringing in people across the globe and trying to find audience, connect with audience, invite speakers. It's such a tough job. Honestly, those who haven't done it, they don't know it. But I, being part of something like that, I know that that's a huge effort that you're putting into this. So thank you so much for having me, and really big kudos to you for doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Helo. This podcast, Happy at Work. I'm Tatiana Kovac. Stay inside.